Aaron Wheelz Fotheringham, welcome to the Traipsin Global on Wheels podcast hour.
Pleasure for having me.
Aaron was born in 1992 with Spina Bifida, a developmental birth defect caused by the incomplete closure of the embryonic neural tube. At birth, doctors had predicted that he wouldn't be able to sit independently. He is commonly known to be the pioneer of wheelchair motocross, WCMX. I think we'll start there, Aaron. So when people ask you about, WCMX, wheelchair motocross, what do you say to them? What is it?
So wheelchair motocross, it's I was kind of I was given the opportunity to come up with the name for the sport because there wasn't many people doing it at the time. And so I was really inspired from BMX. And so I kind of took part of the name and morphed it with wheelchair. And it's basically tricks inspired from BMX and skate, but performed, on a wheelchair in a skate park, and sure is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. I was like, whoa, that is so amazing. That is so cool. And so, and because I'm a adrenaline junkie myself. And so, but you are just on a whole nother level. You're just, yeah, I can't even compare. So can all people who use wheelchairs do this sport, would you say? I know you're not a medical professional. Like, do you think it's impossible for some people with certain kinds of disabilities it would be better if they don't partake in such sports?
Well, I think it, just kind of really depends, and it's different for everyone. And I have some friends that are quadriplegic, and they're out there in the skate park, like dropping in and riding the bulls and stuff. And so I've seen kind of, people with all different abilities out there riding. I would say just kind of take it easy and try it out, and start small and kind of work your way up.
Mm-hmm. So just having it be a gradual thing rather than all of a sudden be doing 2, 3, 4 flips, right? Like what you do.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest starting with the flips.
So I think I know the answer, but I may not. But definitely let our viewers and listeners know. How many Guinness World Records do you have, and what are they for?
So I think I have like 5 Guinness World Records, and one is for the first wheelchair backflip. One is for the furthest wheelchair ramp jump, and which was 72 feet, which I'm real proud of that one. And then the tallest wheelchair hand plant at 30 feet, and the tallest wheelchair drop in at 30 feet. And I got the record for the highest jump, but it was I kind of messed up and only got 60 centimeters. So that one wasn't too impressive.
Well, it's all impressive to me. So moving on to, I was really curious because I know you collaborated a lot with Michael Box over the years on wheelchairs and making them more durable, and he reached out to you way early on. So I'm interested in some of the wheelchair malfunctions that you've experienced.
Yeah, the wheelchairs have definitely come a long way from where they were. Mike Box has been just awesome. I would break something and he would, make it stronger. And so being able to work with Mike and to actually, kind of help progress the wheelchairs from where they were is just unreal. And a lot of the time, the more standard things that break or that I have to kind of maintenance on my chairs, like bolts will come loose, and like that's mainly it, is like things are always coming loose, because we put our chairs through a lot. We're on it every day, and there's a lot of vibration from going down sidewalks and stuff, so bolts are getting rattled loose. And so for me, I just bring a couple wrenches with me kind of everywhere I go, like the ones that will fit almost anything. And that way, like, if I'm somewhere, I can stop real quick and tighten things up, or I'll even bring extra nuts and bolts for the the ones that usually do come loose, because sometimes I don't notice that they've come loose until they're already gone. And
Mhm.
so it's nice to just have like some extra bolts and stuff and just wrenches to keep it all together.
So I know you're doing some welding project during this pandemic because travel has decreased exponentially. So what specifically are you doing with the wheelchairs? Like what changes and improvements are you making?
I've been able to kind of get to the point now where I'm actually riding my own chair that I built, and
Oh wow.
it's fun because I get to kind of change things up and change the design.
And so you say you were building your own wheelchairs. What does that entail? Like that seems like a big project. And how is it different from the current wheelchairs that are offered?
The whole chair building process is definitely quite the process, and it's a little bit intimidating every time I start over on a new chair. But it's been cool to be able to kind of have more input on what I want to do. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of different chairs out there. And I feel like I've been really fortunate to work with Mike over the years, and to have him kind of take me under his wing and show me how to build a chair and how to make it stronger, And so the chair that I'm building is custom for me, and it has the suspension, and it has the rear suspension, the front suspension, and like some extra support and stuff. And can't forget the grind bar for doing the grinds and stuff. And so it's nice to be able to just kind of be able to do it and to be able to make little tweaks and stuff myself.
That's awesome. So are you planning to scale it and have it be available for other people, or is this just for you and having the skill sets to customize the chairs for yourself?
I mean, maybe one day it would be cool to be able to build chairs for other people. Like I've built a chair for a friend, and I'm not really at the point where I could sell them or mass produce them and stuff. So
Mhm.
one day I would like to get to the point where I could build more of them, but
Yeah,
right now it's just kind of like a hobby and kind of just for myself.
yeah. Perhaps that can be a second career. Aaron.
Yeah, maybe.
Too young to think about a second career right now, but
Yeah,
down the line.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're a lot closer to starting something like that than I with your, you already know how to do some of the more technical aspects of it.
Yeah, I just struggle with customer service though.
No worries. Luckily, that part, there are plenty of people who are skilled at that. So that is not an issue. So you once said in an interview, I'm quoting, and another obstacle was that I kept breaking parts in wheelchairs. It was frustrating at times because every time I would go to the skate park, I would break my chair. But thankfully, I met a name by the name of Mike Box, who we were just mentioning earlier, who I've worked with over the years to now develop a chair that holds up the abuse. And so what I wanted to ask was, um, have Mike Box or you or in collaboration made the chairs more durable? You know, everyday wheelchairs more durable from the experiences that you've had, and what does it take? What changes need to be made to make them as durable as possible? People of all mobility disabilities who use wheelchairs need something that is durable, especially since something you may be familiar with is a huge number of people with disabilities. They say 70% here in the US are unemployed, so they can't afford to buy a wheelchair every few years. If they can last longer, that would be extremely helpful. And so what have what has been done to make it more durable specifically?
Yeah. And that's kind of the big problem I feel like I see in the world, is like a lot of the wheelchair manufacturers don't really care to make them that strong or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
but kind of with Mike, we've put some cross bracing. And so like you don't really bend the frame, and like there's certain spots on the chair that you just kind of add extra support. and like, you know, whether it's thicker material right there or whatever, you know, and it's always a balance of making it stronger but trying to keep it lightweight, you know, because of course you could build a bulletproof chair, but it might weigh 100 pounds, you know, and so it's kind of just trying to figure that out. And you know, it's cool that Mike has really had this passion to make a better chair and to make it hold up, you know.
Yeah. Have they mainstreamed the changes following what we were just talking about? So, you know, the changes that, you know, the feedbacks over the years that you've given to Mike Box, and then the changes that he would implement. Has he mainstreamed it in a way that, you know, the wheelchairs, have they implement some of the changes onto the everyday wheelchair so that everybody can utilize it?
Yeah, Box Wheelchairs is still going strong, and he's still building so many chairs. Every time I talk to him, he's always got way more chairs than he should be doing right now. But yeah, like basically the chair I ride is available to anyone, and you know, he's, you know, takes what he's learned from working on my chairs with me, and he's kind of made it so anyone can have that, you know, that technology and that strength of a chair. It's just kind of what he does, is put that passion into everything.
Yeah. So I while doing a little research on you, I learned that small words can make a huge difference. I never thought about, you know, the usage of in and on, and how even just like the language that we learn around when we're growing up and by able-bodied people, because my parents and my family are able-bodied. I know you have a sibling with a disability as well. For me, that's not the case. So the language I learn is very much, you know, able-bodied ableist language, I guess, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's later that I discovered, you know, the disability community, and then person first language, and describing and conveying myself in that part of my identity in a more empowering and liberating way. And so I found that very enlightening. I guess I just wanted to comment on that, but then I want to ask you another question, delving in a little deeper. I don't know how real you want to get, Aaron. But like I said, we could put on the brakes anytime. Um, what dating advice would you have for, you know, specifically boys with disabilities? Because I think you have a lot to share in this area. And as I was doing some research, I didn't see a lot of people asking you about this area. So what were some hard lessons you learned along the way, you know, about dating, and what do you want to pass on to others? Because like, it's uncomfortable. It's, you know, people feel shame and people feel all sorts of hard feelings. And like, I feel like people with disabilities, specifically boys with disabilities, don't really necessarily have the space to talk about these things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for anyone, dating is just awkward and it's not the most fun thing. Um, but I feel like when I look back on it, it was just like, you know, everyone's got their thing that they're maybe struggling with or whatever, you know, like no one's perfect, and maybe you can't see their disability or what they struggle with or whatever. And so I would just like, you know, honestly, I wouldn't feel too concerned about having a disability, and, you know, getting out there and wanting to, you know, meet someone and start dating. You know, I wouldn't let, you know, the fact that you have a disability stop you from, you know, working on finding someone, you know.
Yeah. I think I definitely agree with you that it is, you know, there is that awkward phase and uncomfortable phase for everybody, and they have to get out of their um, you know, comfort zone, and face their fears. I like what you said, like, it's not that you don't feel the fear anymore, but you're trying to focus on other aspects as well, so that it's not such a big, the fear isn't so overwhelming and overpowering. um so I'm sure it's a lot more like complicated than that. So So you feel like people should just, just go for it despite the negative reactions that may come?
Yeah, I mean, like, for me specifically, like, I definitely had my worries. Like, am I going to find a girl that doesn't mind, my disability, or, or is it going to slow her down or something like that? There's all those kind of thoughts, like, and then there's the self-image problems and, kind of stuff like that. And I'm sure a lot of people with a disability can relate to. But I mean, for the situation with me and my wife, like I never really realized that I would get to the point where I'm not super nervous about my legs or my disability, like, but honestly, she has just shown me that time after time that I deserve to be happy. And like, she struggles with her own kind of, struggles, and I love her despite those. And it's just kind of like a give and take. And I don't think that, having a disability means you're less worthy of, being happy.
Yeah, no, very well put. And so actually I was gonna ask you about your wife, so I'm glad you brought her up. Like, how did you know how did you know you proposed to her? How did you know she was the one you wanted to spend the rest of your life with? I mean, for the sake of our podcast, obviously, our identities are very much complicated. I know that there are much more than just our disability, but in regards to the disability, um, did you feel like there was this understanding that, because there are a lot of um, physical, technical things that we experience that an able-bodied walking person may not necessarily know or experience. So did you feel like there was that deep understanding there?
She probably won't like me talking about this, but she does have some problems with some of her joints, like her ankles and stuff. And so while she's able to walk, she still, has her times that she struggles and stuff. And so I feel like she honestly understands my situation quite a bit. And while they're different, and I found that it's really kind of helped a lot that, she also, maybe she also has hip, pain, and I have hip pain. And while it's two completely different things, it's been nice that we both kind of can share like empathy for each other when, someone's hurting or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's different for everybody. I asked that question because, people have their own different kinds of experiences. Um, so we have something in common. I mean, we have several things in common, but the specific thing I'm pointing to is, so you're adopted, and as am I. So I'm interested. Like I said, Aaron, feel free to put the brakes on anytime. Do you have
I'm in.
do you have any interest in adopting a child of your own? Have you ever thought about that?
Um, I've I haven't really thought about adopting one. We talk about having kids and stuff, and in the future for sure. But um, I hadn't really thought about adopting one. Like if we're able to do it, like have kids, whatever, then cool. But I don't know. I hadn't thought that far ahead.
um, and I
It,
know you. Go ahead.
we have a couple dogs, but we're thinking about having a third dog.
Oh wow! So you got some fur babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 3 dogs. That would be a lot. I feel like.
Yeah. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm just messing though. I think two is enough.
So I know your Christian faith is also very important to you. How big of a role uh, does it play in your life, would you say, and how it's like really guided you and directed you in your, whether that be wheelchair motocross or something else that you're pursuing, your wheelchair design projects?
I feel like my faith has, been really a big part of kind of my whole journey. Like, I feel like throughout my life, despite the spina bifida and the struggles that have come along with that, I've been able to see a lot of like blessings, like when I was, you know, put up for adoption, I was then adopted by a super loving family. And, then I got the health care I needed. And then I met Mike Box. And, I just feel like, despite all the struggles, there's been, far more blessings that have kind of come, simultaneously. And so I definitely think faith is a big part of it. And, kind of helps you kind of shift your perspective,
Yeah. I thought that was interesting just because, these are very common things that people grapple with. Dating, having kids, your faith. Like, it's not like these are niche topics we're addressing. But I think what is less mainstream about it is, us being in wheelchairs and having this physical disability and discussing, our views and perspectives on it. And that's the angle that doesn't really get funneled into the mainstream as much. And just creating a more diverse voice. It's been so awesome talking to you. I don't know if you remember, but we've actually been in the works of arranging this for quite some time. So
we finally made it happen.
I know we finally made it happen. So good luck with, I hope, once this pandemic is all over, you're able to travel and do your impressive tricks again, and perhaps, set some new Guinness World Records.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
But thank you so much for making time. I appreciate it. And hopefully, I'll get to meet you and see one of your shows. Have a wonderful day. And thanks again, Aaron, for making time. And I hope to meet you in person sometime in the near future, okay?
Thank you. It was good to meet you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Ciao.